Steve Rogers may have America's ass, but today on Food Brew and Barbecue, we're smoking up some Boston butts. This dish is a really good intro into smoking. Boston butts, pork shoulder, pulled pork, yanked hog. Not a very expensive cut of meat. There's a lot of fat, so as long as you cook it low and slow, you're gonna have no problem. Let's get to it.
The Boston butt actually comes from the shoulder of the pig. Like I said, there's a lot of connective tissue and fat on these bad boys, so if we go low and slow, that will render to leave us with luscious, succulent pork when we're done. First thing we need to do is get our meat ready for rubbing by removing the meat diaper from our butt. Sometimes this stuff just writes itself. And I'm checking here for any silver skin or excessive fat on the fat cap, and feel free to trim this down to your heart's content or just leave it alone, but I trim it down to about a 1/4 inch. Carolina Butcher Shop does a great job of preparing their meats for sale, so this one looks just right and ready to rub down. We're going to start by giving our butt a reason to be concerned and put on some latex gloves close to it. Then squirt some yellow mustard and apple cider vinegar as a binder for our rubs to stick to, and do that on the top and bottom of the pork and rub all the sides as well. A lot of this is done by look. You just want enough of this stuff so our rubs will stick, not making it sopping wet. And speaking of butt rubs, our Meat Church Trinity will be using our layers of D's Nuts rub, honey bacon barbecue, and hot honey hog rub. Of course, you can make your own rubs here, and I'll have a recipe for one of those in the comments. Tyler's tip of the day is to start with the grittiest rub and move to the finest. For these, I start with a layer of honey bacon barbecue. When applying the rub, hold it about a foot or so above the meat and sprinkle out the rubs in a back and forth pattern. And as Aaron Franklin calls it, it's like a typewriter. Give each side a good rub down and move on to the Meat Church D's Nuts rub.
Got him!
Following the same steps, and then finally our hot honey hog rub. You're looking for the surface of the pork to look like you put your wet hand in the sand at the beach and it looks all sandy. That's what we're looking for. Touch up anywhere that you feel needs a little extra love and set your big old booty aside to make way for our injection. For this, we use about 4 parts apple juice or cherry coke or Dr. Pepper if that's more your speed, 1 part apple cider vinegar, and then remember you had some bone suckin mustard sauce hanging around and use about the same of that as you used with the apple cider vinegar. If you're in Eastern North Carolina, I'd recommend you getting some of that, but if not, yellow mustard will work just fine. This is just gonna kick it up a notch over some plain yellow mustard. Throw in a sprinkle of the rubs if you're feeling frisky, and mix those all up to combine. By the end of adding everything together in the injection, I kind of felt like this.
And you know what? I'm gonna add these two, too. And when we come back, another notch. Stick around.
Bring on back your pork shoulder and don a pistol injector or preferred meat injector to soak up some of that tasty injection we just made. Of course, this whole injection process is optional, but it delivers extra tastiness into the inside of your pork, so why not, right? The best way to inject is poke the same hole a few times while moving the syringe around to make a little pocket of deliciousness. I do this in a grid pattern so I know where I've already injected, and yes, some will happen to squirt out, and that's normal. There's plenty that stayed inside. Finally, transfer your pork into a deep bowl, or to keep cleanup easy, one of these aluminum pans and let it rest overnight. Leave a little extra room in there because rumor has it that if you prepare everything perfectly, you're rewarded with an extra pork butt by the barbecue wizards, and well, look at that! Before I get hate, this is obviously not true. If you want 2 butts, you've got to do more than wish to the barbecue wizards. From here, we'll let these rest overnight.
Early the next morning.
Hey everybody, good morning. It was about 5:45. I woke up, have the smoker going at 225 with competition blend pellets by Pit Boss. So we're gonna put these pork shoulders on. They're about 9 pounds, so we'll probably have them on for at least 12 hours.
Oh, and I forgot to mention, you may want to get some of these Bluetooth probes so you can gauge your time, but if you don't have any, I'll show you later how to tell when they're done. Just make sure if you are using them, not to get them close to the bone. That'll give you an off temperature reading, and it might not be done as much as you think. Once you catch a few more Z's and the pork has been on about an hour, it's time to spritz your beautiful pieces of meat. This is what's going to take the bark on your pork to the next level and impart some more flavor and moistness. Add to a dollar store spray bottle 4 parts of apple juice, 1 part apple cider vinegar, and 1 part water. Shake that up to mix and go back outside and spritz your pork. Open up the smoker and reveal some beautifully colored pork butts. Real nice bark that's starting already. The spritz is just gonna help it. And then we're gonna come spritz every hour after this.
All right, we're about 4 hours in. Let's see what kind of color we have. 136 on one, 135 on the other. That was good. Great color. Let's just get them spritzed up. I'm about to check and I see thermometer number 1 is about done, so that will be right there. This one needs another 10 degrees, but we'll take this one off and be back in a minute. Been about 12 hours now. If we take a probe to it, yeah, it feels just like butter. That's what we want. So So I'm gonna take that off, go inside, shred it up.
This is the one I've had resting in the oven on warm. Ideally, you have it set for an hour. The color gets even darker than it was out on the smoker, and the smell is phenomenal as soon as you take off the foil. Don't worry about the drippings inside. We're gonna shred it up and serve it in the same bowl. That's nothing to worry about. Let's go get Megan in here, shred everything up, and finally get the reward for all our patience. All right, here are the pork shoulders now. Ideally, you do want these to rest for at least a half hour, I think.
Back up so we can get an elbow.
Nice bark. Let's see how this goes. That's so...
Very tender.
Yeah. We take a really fatty piece of meat and cook it for 12 hours, and this is the outcome. And this is, the bone pulls right out perfectly. This looks good, jeez.
This little bit right here.
Yeah. We're going to take this down to our neighborhood gathering, and I look forward to either cooking or smoking some pork butt with you again next time.